Ryan Day got to the end of preseason camp, decided his quarterback competition needed to continue into the season. Kyle McCord played most of the game against Indiana, almost all of it. He played the majority of the game against today Youngstown State, 35-7 Buckeye win. Devin Brown did play more, though. Got to actually throw some passes, run the offense, run the first-team offense against a first-team defense. Have we seen enough through 2 games? Maybe more importantly, do you think Ryan Day has seen enough through 2 games to say quarterback competition is over? We're going with one quarterback, a true starting quarterback against Western Kentucky to get ready for a huge game on September 23rd against Notre Dame.
Yeah, Kyle McCord is the starting quarterback. I don't know if he has to or will come out and say it. I mean, I don't know if he has to, but the actions the last 2 weeks speak for themselves. And the problem is they're not going to play anybody that's going to force him to have to actually act on that, because he can do the same thing again next week and Kyle McCord still be the true starting quarterback just because of the level of opponent. So it might still end up being the same usage. It just might come at a different time than Devin Brown getting out there for the first series of the second quarter. He just plays the whole fourth quarter. But I do think it's time. If it's not in his head already that Kyle McCord is the starting quarterback, I think it needs to be placed in his head. I think his actions plus what we've seen in 2 weeks, especially from Kyle McCord, the growth he made from week 1 to week 2, Kyle McCord's your starting quarterback in 2023 unless something crazy happens in the next 7 days.
Andrew, I think you had some skepticism, right, as to how much we were actually going to learn from some of these early games to change the decision that already sort of seemed to be made in that first game. So I think I know what your answer is going to be to this question.
Yeah, I mean, actions speak louder than words, right? I mean, we've seen the Indiana game. They put Kyle McCord out on the field pretty much every chance that they could, and in the time that Devin Brown saw the field in that Indiana game, they ran 3 run plays, and then Devin Brown left the field and did not come back until it was a 20-point game. Today, they got him more involved, yes, but I just don't know. They put McCord in the advantageous positions. They put him out there at the end of the first half. You just can kind of follow. Maybe not what they say or, we're going to get him this rep, and this rep. It's when you put him out there that I think matters a lot. So, yeah, to me, next week is the Friday dress rehearsal for a big-time Saturday night show against Notre Dame. You've got to make sure that you are firing on all cylinders next Saturday when you do play Western Kentucky. This is a moment where, all right, we're going to give the entire first-team offense some run. This is what it's going to look like, or this is what we're going to try and look like against Notre Dame. You've got to do that across the roster. Now's kind of the time. I think we've said this for a couple of weeks, that eventually you're going to have a plan going into Notre Dame. I think this gives them the perfect exit ramp to say, you know what? Kyle McCord has been, pretty good over the last game. He's shown improvement. This is the time where we're going to name him the starter, but we really like Devin Brown. That's what I think is going to happen, and that's what I think should happen. You just say, you know what, we really like what Devin saw, showed some promise, but Kyle's the guy right now, and we're going to build for Western Kentucky going into Notre Dame.
Yeah, Ryan Day wouldn't commit either way. To Steven's point, I don't know that he has to. I don't know that he never even necessarily should. Maybe just for the sake of gamesmanship, why would you come out and say that? Why would you just leave it up in the air, let Western Kentucky figure it out when Kyle McCord's still playing late in the third quarter? But the thing to me is, I asked Devin Brown, are you guys still rolling number 1 reps? He said, yeah, they're still alternating first-team reps, and they were alternating first-team reps going into that Indiana game as well. Like, it was a full share, and I think that has to end at some point. At some point, you have to commit to a guy, and to me, it's not just about Western Kentucky, or it's not just about Notre Dame, because Western Kentucky is an opponent that you can't completely take for granted in its own right. We've seen in the last couple of years the Tulsa game. Like, there's been some scares here that weren't supposed to be scares, and I'm not saying they'll do that. I'm just saying they can't take anybody for granted. But Western Kentucky's got a quarterback named Austin Reed who threw for more yards than anybody in college football last year. Notre Dame's got a quarterback named Sam Hartman, who people think might be an NFL quarterback and is maybe even playing better at Notre Dame than he was the last few years at Wake Forest, although they haven't really played anybody yet. Anyway, 2 good quarterbacks there. I don't think you can take for granted 100% that Ohio State has the best quarterback in these next 2 matchups. I think it's still, that's not me criticizing Kyle McCord or Devin Brown, or especially Kyle McCord, because we think he's going to be the starter, but it's something where you got to give him the chance to prove it. You got to give him a full shot at being the number 1 quarterback all week and let him go out there and run the number 1 offense on Saturday. I think you got to do it for the next 2 weeks to get him fully prepared to go out and beat Notre Dame, because as Ryan Day well knows, any one loss is a big setback in a season, and I think you've got to put yourself in the best position possible to avoid that one loss, or more importantly, to say it the right way, to win that one big game on the road, by the way. More about this on Buckeye Talk, and get the text 614-350-3315 news analysis. All sorts of updates all week from Buckeye Talk.